So we went from ludicrous to expensive. So now you think it's the time because the puzzle pieces are gonna come together. But based on what? We still didn't figure out the tariffs. We still didn't figure out the global shenanigans that's going on around the world. Like, I said, okay, interesting. So you're manifesting what? Is that manifestation paying your bills today? He started laughing, obviously. He's like, well, he's not paying my bills, but it'll hit. I feel it, right? You feel what, man? All right, folks, so I have been hearing a statement. It cannot, for a long time. I will explain. I'm referring to real estate market, to stock market, to Bitcoin, to our economy here in Canada. And the statement goes like this. Real estate market cannot fail. It simply cannot. Stock market cannot crash. Or Bitcoin, for some reason, cannot go back to zero. I just don't understand how people are calculating this, even though a lot of things are kind of written ahead, right? Like we have seen a fall of real estate market just now, few years, right? Like you guys go to these apps, realtor.ca, House Sigma, you talk to your realtor or whatever, and we have seen drops from, 1.6 million to 1.2 million or 1.3 million. Those are losses, hundreds upon hundreds of thousands of dollars. But yet we seem to be in that kind of pickle right now, or that bridge where people mentally, for some reason, they don't want to take it in. They don't want to say, well, maybe this is it. Like maybe we have reached the end. So before I get into the stories that I've kind of spoken with some people, right, in real estate agents and bankers and some other folks over the weekend. I had a very busy weekend, so retirees as well. So I just could not understand, even though I asked the right questions, I could not believe the answers that I got. But before we went into that, let's watch this together.
Sandy, think of this updated financial picture as a scene setter heading into the upcoming fall budget, and it blames weaker economic growth and the trade war for the changed picture. The parliamentary budget officer briefs a committee of MPs on his new economic and fiscal outlook.
I think everybody should be concerned. It's a really serious day.
The report projects a sharp hike to the annual deficit from $51.7 billion last year to $68.5 billion this year.
All right, so they're even claiming it openly, out in the open. Canada is in a pickle. Canada is having a hard time. And I'm sure it's not only Canada. I'm sure like all the countries around the world feel the pressure, whether it's from tariffs, whether it's from their own internal issues or whatever. That keeps accumulating by day. However, let's get into something, right? Like 1929, the biggest depression in the United States, we know about that. But it's kind of replicating the model today. Yeah, things were kind of a little bit different because people were pushing a lot of pen and paper, and we're pushing a lot of emails today, and we have all these apps. But the formula is the same, right? Like it's the same stage. It feels the same. People in the 1929s were heavily investing, whether they were teachers, whether they were your local mechanic, whether they were like a baker and stuff like that. They were depending and they were pushing the agenda of gains, future gains, by investing little crumbs, right? And expecting big cakes at the end of the year. And based on that, they were living like that, right? Based on the future earnings that they don't even have, and they acquired so much debt in order to have that illusion of some kind of a lifestyle. And then obviously it all collapsed. So I just don't understand what the difference is today. It's the same difference. People live beyond their means, and it keeps rolling over year over year, year over year. And for some reason, even though there is proper evidence shown today, right? Like we have seen the peak of 2022. We have seen that, right? Like we have seen the prices fall. We can see the condo market being devastated and all of that stuff. And yet people are extremely comfortable. And I want to get into that, all right? So I spoke to an agent, all right? So professional agent, heavy, full-time, did crazy numbers, right? A few years ago, as many did. Bought all this, properties and cars and all of that stuff. But the mindset, right? So when I spoke to him, I said, okay, so what's going on? He said, like, look, like for a couple of years going through these up and downs, like during the market, it was a hard time. I worked so much. I was worried. I was worrying. I this and that. I said, okay, so you're not worried anymore? Like for some reason you stopped, or what has changed? Like did business pick up for whatever reason? And he said something interesting. He said, no, it didn't pick up. It's just like I stopped worrying. I said, okay. So you just stopped worrying, and all of a sudden that stop worrying is gonna somehow pay your bills? It's like, well, yeah, like I'm just like more manifesting stuff now. I said, okay, interesting. So you're manifesting what? Is that manifestation paying your bills today? He started laughing, obviously. He's like, well, it's not paying my bills, but it'll hit. I feel it, right? You feel what, man? Like, you understand what I mean? Like your business is not even close. It's not like 30% what it used to be, right? And your monthly is this. It's right here. And what is it you're like manifesting? Like I don't understand. So I think he's pooping his pants. That's how I have to say it on YouTube. He's pooping his pants, but he's just waiting like the sitting duck, waiting, and something will hit. Like I feel it. No, you don't feel nothing. Like you're just imagining somehow it will fall into your lap for whatever reason, right? But anyways, listen, if you can do it, do it. No problem with that. Now, spoke to another guy, banker. Interesting, right? So what's going on? Spoke to him. He's like, well, I don't deal with mortgages anymore. I'm the high end. I'm going into corporate, this and that, and all the story. I'm like, no. Like, okay, you're not a teller. You're not the first person in mortgage. So just tell me how it is. Like, you don't have to upsell your title. I really don't care, right? And he's like, yeah, okay. So then I started talking to him. I said, okay, so what's the issue? How's it going? He's like, well, everything is fine. We're doing whatever we're doing. I'm like, well, anybody closing mortgages? He's like, well, not really, but it's picking up. Not really, everything is picking up. I don't understand. He's like, well, it just takes time. And now it's like with the end of the year, people are asking for more loans and stuff like that. End of the year, people are asking for more loans. It just doesn't make any sense. Like people are asking for more loans because they have to go into more debt in order to ride either their lifestyle or their burden around their neck. That's it. Like they're not talking to you in the bank because they want to be in the bank. Well, they're just talking to you because they don't have another choice. But anyway, that's my opinion. I could be wrong. Please comment below. Okay. So, but then like I touched on AI. Right? And I said, well, look, like there is a possibility that AI might replace most of the jobs. Oh my gosh, he went furious. Ah, what are you talking about? Only low-end jobs, never gonna happen. This is never gonna happen. That is never gonna happen. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, what are you talking about? Like everything you just said, it came to light already, half of it, right? Because it's only about human interaction. I'm like, I'm a Blockbuster kid. I know, walking into a Blockbuster, right? Like I would wait for days, sometimes wait for the basket, Blockbuster basket on the returns. Like I'm sure you remember, right? When is the movie come in so I can grab it, take it to the cashier and watch it if it's like a Blockbuster hit or something like that, right? So, like I'm like, well, Netflix changed it. No problem. Netflix changed it overnight, right? And he's like, well, that's different. Okay. So I'm like, when you grew up, your parents told you not to talk to a stranger, period. Now you go on your app and you order an Uber with a stranger in a car. And you sit in that stranger car. Well, you have an app. You can track it. I'm like, okay, fine. Whatever, right? I'm like, would you ever go into a car with driverless, without a driver? It's like, I would never do it. Okay, it's coming. It's already somewhere on the East Asia somewhere. Like they only have these drivers anyways, or no drivers, just cars, right? So I'm like, what is the point? Like, do you remember when cash registers came in, right? Like the self-checkout cash register. It's like, yes. Okay, so do you stand in line to wait for a cashier that's maybe slow, had a bad day, doesn't have a smile? No, you go and you check out yourself, you go. But you remember when they came out, like people were protesting against it, right? So I'm like, it just doesn't make any sense. So yes, you can be replaced with AI, and I'll get in it why, right? I'll get to that point in a second. But the same weekend, I also spoke to someone that is an engineer, highly educated, came to Canada a long time ago, went through his rounds and all of that stuff. And I spoke to him. He's an elderly gentleman. And he told me, hey, now it's the time. I feel it. It's the time for what? Well, everything is going to turn around. I'm like, well, what can turn around, right? Because we were at a peak that was ludicrous, like crazy, right? Nobody couldn't afford anything, right? Then it feathered down to expensive. So we went from ludicrous to expensive. So now you think it's the time because the puzzle pieces are gonna come together. But based on what? We still didn't figure out the tariffs. We still didn't figure out the global shenanigans that's going on around the world. Like, we don't even know how to fix our problems locally. We're tapping into international. We don't know who is our allies or not, or how do we manufacture anything. People are all across Canada worried about their jobs if they are in lumber industry, steel industry, automotive industry, and everything else. And you're telling me, based on your immaculate experience, that it's the time now? Like, I don't get it, right? It's like, well, in the 80s, I remember, and then in the 90s, I remember. I'm like, okay, hold on a second. In the 90s, it took 10 years for the prices go from peak to peak. He's like, oh, did it really take that long? I'm like, well, you calculate, right? I'm like, okay, let me ask you. In the late 70s, early 80s, you were only employed. your wife and kids, were not employed. They were at home alone. Could you carry everything and still put bread on table? I'm not talking about extravagant lifestyle. I'm talking a suburban home, like a vehicle, maybe two, maybe one, whatever. But you could have afforded it. He's like, yes. I'm like, let's do the math together now. Can you afford it today? Let's say your son or your daughter, if you shave off their partner's income and everything else, and they buy your home, your identical home, they will not be able to afford it. He's like, well, things change. Well, what is your point, right? Things change on so many levels. That's why we're having issues. This is a bottleneck, right? So the only way how to do it is to borrow more. But we've seen in the 1929 that doesn't work. We have seen the early 90s in Canada. It didn't work, right? Because people were betting, right? Like betting on That's something, right? And then we get into stocks. They cannot fail. Yes, they can, historically, many times. Real estate is not bulletproof in Canada. Failed many times, right? Over and over, it cycles, right? And then the new one, Bitcoin, it can never fail. I said, okay, so let me get back to the other guy. I'm like, okay, what about Bitcoin? Well, it's secure, it's this, it's that, it's interesting, it's this, it's that, it's cool. Like, I'm not an expert, I get it. I'm like, well, he's like, it'll be $1 million. Well, I'm like, no, it'll be $1. It's like, no, it will be $1 million. I'm like, well, I'm telling you, it's gonna be $1. Well, it can never be a dollar. I'm like, well, how are you claiming that it can be $1 million? Right? Like, it's the belief. People believe in it, they're investing in it, right? For whatever reason, I don't know the reasons, but if there is a lot of interest, right, then people, it's a train. People hop on that train. It's not guaranteed. People had success from the early 2000s, same thing, right? People had success with real estate, whether they were an expert, whether they were not an expert, it's irrelevant. You know, they bought that piece of paper, they sold it many times before the closing. They didn't even see that condo most of the time. And all of a sudden they were that entrepreneur, they were that, you know, next guru or whatever. No, you're just hopping on the right train. And now, you know, all along the way, it's been taught or it's been processed in a way where you can accumulate more is if you dilute your equity, right? If you build $100,000, as an example, obviously, you build $100,000 of equity, then you take that equity, you split it into 4, and you deploy $25,000 on other 4 projects or units, and that's how you grow, right? It's like basically like gambling, but with bricks and sticks or whatever you want to call it, right? So, like, I just don't get it, right? And then that replacement, like with AI. You know, then the guy's like, I cannot be replaced. I cannot be replaced because I'm not the entry-level position in the bank. I said, well, I think everybody can be replaced. I'm like, let me ask you a question. If you, like in terms of IQ, the most majority of people that you and I know, including myself, is maybe 120 IQ, 125, 130. Maybe your neighbor, the genius neighbor, like it's 140 or something like that. Right? The most brilliant minds on planet were hovering around like 160, maybe 70 or something like that, right? Like, I don't know, maybe somebody hit 200. I'm not sure. They're claiming there are people that hit it. But anyways, so we're hovering around there. Let's say between 150 and 200, genius level, ultimate level. That's the difference between somebody, you know, like sticks hitting on a tree and eating, you know, eating ants for living versus somebody building a spaceship rocket. That's the difference, right? So now we like already the AI, it's probably at like 140, 150, right? So if we get to AGI, which is the general intelligence, right? So what if that IQ gets lifted to 1,000 or 5,000 or 1 million? Like, you really think you cannot be replaced with your little 125 IQ? I think so, buddy. On top of that, they're saying like, look, I cannot because people want the human attraction. Yes, I agree. I want that human attraction. We all want it. But if that robot can fix my problem, can be on time, can have a conversation, can have reasoning, it's smarter than you, it's better, it gives me 50,000 options in 1 second, solves my issue, well, where you gonna go, right? And me as a broker or as your teller or somebody not picking up a phone because I'm, I don't know, playing frisbee with my kids or something like that, walking a dog, right? So see how shift changes quickly. And then I asked a question. I'm like, okay, so let's say you have two doctors. So you have a doctor that did some surgeries, and then you have a robot, AI robot, that does surgeries. And then you go for an interview and you say, listen, I prefer a human, right? They feel, they cry, they maybe drink over the weekend, and they come hungover on Monday morning, and then I'm speaking to the doctor, hypothetically, okay? And then you ask the doctor, well, doctor, look, my life is in jeopardy here, so what do you think is the success rate? And you say, well, you know what, like I cannot guarantee you anything, but I think we can, you know, I can maybe guarantee 80%, right? That I can maybe successfully do something, right? Like giving that surgery. And then the same day robot AI comes and says, well, listen, by my calculation, by my scan and everything else that I analyzed, there's a 99.8% chance that it's gonna be successful. All right? So let's be honest with each other. Who would you go with? Right? And let's say that they both are, let's say the doctor is asking 50 grand for the surgery and the AI robot is asking 17 grand for the surgery. It's cheaper, right? Because, you know, they don't sleep, right? So think about that for a second. Where would you go? Honestly, like I'm not asking you, do you like humans? I love humans, right? But honestly, you would choose the robot because 99.8%, you don't want to gamble on your life, right? Like the guy, like, you know, maybe he came in, he was nice, but he had a, you know, bad breath that day, and who knows, I don't know, right? So, and it's just like, it doesn't give you that reinsurance. So same thing goes with a bank or with a salesperson or with all of the above. And for some reason, there's people being, I don't know, like they're just being, I think it's ego. I think at this point it's just ego. Is like, nobody can replace me. Yes, you can be replaced, and you probably will be replaced eventually. Now, how it's going to play out, I don't know. I really don't know. I hope that these robots or the AI system evolves enough that we have more free time and that we have more luxuries and that we can afford more stuff because we don't have to grind for it. But then again, the question arises, if you don't have a goal or a human being, if you don't have a purpose, right? Like it's gonna be depression. Like, are you kidding me right now? Like I don't want that. I still want to, there's fun in that grind, right? There's fun in that build. There's fun in the challenge versus I want an answer, boom. I want this, boom. Like, it's not amplifying stuff. Eventually, from amplifying, we're going to go into making people rotten from inside because you have no purpose. There's nothing you can do better than a robot eventually. So what are you gonna do, right? You're gonna cry because that's your biggest asset as a human? What if they can make robots cry, right? So then we go back to the whole real estate thing, right? And as per claim of the bankers, like, oh, I'm gonna go into commercial because that's the next step. I'm like, you're gonna go into commercial? People are trying to offload something that they cannot in commercial because like they don't need all of that commercial. Like, the world is shifting through apps, through so many different things that people don't need maybe that 8,000 square foot luxurious, 22nd floor view in order to attract employees. No, like I know people that have, tens upon hundreds of employees employed all over the world. And they talk via Zoom or these apps or something like that, and these, companies flourish. And in fact, a lot of companies are laying off people now, right? Because the more they lay off, because there's the replacement of AI, they see more profits. So that person on the top, like, what do you think? It like I'm asking you now, where's the empathy now, right? If we're human, like, stop doing that. Hire 5 more people, even though it's costing you 50,000 more a year. Do it. You do the first step because you have the money. You do the first step. But no, right? As soon as that app comes that you can replace your tellers, boom, tellers are gone. You know, mortgage brokers, as soon as the app comes, shoot, you're gone. Real estate, gone. This, gone. That, gone, right? So it's like, what are we talking about? Like, you know what I mean? So I think the world, it's becoming an interesting and challenging place moving forward. And I don't know. I'm trying to be optimistic. I'm really, really trying. But the more I try, the more stuff comes up, and the more people come to me and talk to me. And then whenever I ask these little questions, I'm not getting solid answers. Like, yeah, that's the fix, that's the band-aid, that's it, right? And I say, well, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, well, I didn't hear anything lately that made sense, right? So I don't know. I hope you enjoyed this video, and please comment below where you're watching, city, maybe the time you're watching it at and stuff like that. It'll be interesting to see how far these videos go. So share it, like it, and I'll see you in the next one.